Hi guys, this is Sue. Thanks for joining me for this Headstart Journals video series. Today I'm going to be actually starting to work in the raw book, and this is the same as what you would receive if you purchased one of these. These are for sale in my Etsy shop. As of right now, there are 8 available still. Thank you, Carolyn and Margie, for purchasing the first 2. I appreciate both of you. If you like this idea, check it out and see if I have more in my shop. Otherwise, you could make something similar yourself at home. So we have this book here. This one is the one I made for myself. We've got mostly greens and browns in the cover here. And this week I was at the thrift store and I happened to see this tree book, 79 cents. Do I probably already have a couple of tree books? Yes. But I saw it and it inspired me and I thought, yep, we're going to do trees. Kind of a foresty tree kind of theme for mine. You're going to do your own theme for yours. So, pick out what you want to do and gather you some materials and we will start working in the book. Today I'm just going to go through a couple of things, and what I'm going to show you is how I deal with little short pages. If you've got one of these and you flip through, you've noticed that there are some pages that are really small and some that are, still narrow enough that they're really not usable as they are. So I wanted to show you what I do with those. So I've marked them here. So in the first signature, we have this little pocket page, and then we come to this one here, which is part of a music page, and it's very, very narrow. And I just want to show you how this got in here and how the construction went. So we're going to find the other side of this page, and it happens to be right here. And you can see that this was actually a really big page. This was just a design choice that I made. I could have just folded this in half and it probably would have fit in there pretty well, but I decided to have a really big wide flip here and then just a narrow one here. And this is an opportunity to add something else into the book. So I'm going to add one of these pages from my tree book here. I'd like to have at least one of these in each signature. It's not very pretty on the other side, but we'll deal with that later. So what I'm going to do is glue this right onto this little short page, but I'm going to glue it in such a way that when you flip this over, this is a side tuck. So I'm only going to be gluing at the top, the bottom, and along this edge of the book page, okay? And I am going to just be a little bit careful at the top here because you can see that it's not a complete, it's got those little holes in it from where the book was bound. And so I don't want glue seeping through there and making a mess and possibly gluing stuff to other pages. So I'm just going to put the glue on here instead of on here, on this one side. And of course, when you're on film, your glue doesn't want to come out. Isn't that the way? All right. Let's give it another try here. There we go. Now, just remember, this is a side tuck. It's not going to have like lots of little tiny things in it. So if your gluing isn't exactly perfect, it's okay. It's just to tuck a journal card in or a tag or photo or something. So it's going to be something big. It's not going to fall through tiny cracks. All right, now I'm just going to lay this in here where I want it to be. And I can make this as, wide as I want here. So I'm going to come out just a little ways and line it up with the page underneath it so it looks nice and square, and then just flip this over and glue it down. Now, if I had been smart, I would have punched a little thumb notch in here first. I don't know that I really need one on this page. It's really obvious. When you turn this page, it's going to be really obvious that that's a pocket. So I'm not really particularly worried about that. I may go back in later and punch one, but for right now, I'm just going to leave that. Okay. So all I've done now is added this page in, and we have this extra little pocket on the back. All right, let's move to the next instance of this situation. I have quite a few of these in the second signature. That's just the way it worked out. So sometimes things are just that way. All right, so what I decided to do here is I'm going to cut this in half here, and I'm going to put so that these will flip independently, if that makes sense. All right, so if you're particular about it, you can measure it and actually find the actual center. I'm not that particular, so I'm just going to guesstimate it, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut right up the middle up to, so now we have these two that are independent, and we can kind of treat these as two different pages and they can overlap. So I have these beautiful images of eco-dyed paper, and I'm going to try to use those in there, and I think I might just go with this green one here. So let's trim that a little bit. Pretty maple leaf here. And then I'm just deciding how wide it's going to be. So I'm going to just stick the paper in there, and I'm going to fold it over so I know how wide I want this paper to be. And I think maybe I'll even just tear it down. So got the fold there. I'm going to fold it back the other way, and we're just breaking those fibers a little bit so it's easier to tear. Isn't that pretty on that side too? I love that. Okay. All right. Very good. Now we're not going to want this little margin from my printer. If you don't have access to a printer, you can have things printed at a print shop like Staples, or even like the UPS store will do that for you. You can send them digital files and they will print them out for you. I know that I've never done this, so I can't really vouch for the quality or anything, but I know there's a gal called, her name is Pam, and she has a shop called the Paper Outpost. She has a YouTube channel too. I believe that she sells her digitals like printed out. If you want, you can order them and she'll print them and mail them to you. So if printing isn't an option for you, don't let that stop you. You can find a way around it. You can also just use scrapbook paper or other papers. You know, if you want to make it more of a junk journal, you can use book pages, magazine papers. You know, everything doesn't have to be pristine and beautiful. It's a junk journal, so you can do it how you like. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to use this whole piece. I'm going to tear this one just a little bit more ruggedly, so it's a little bit more uneven, which I like. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue this on here like this, just the top one. And yeah, you can also decide which side you want to glue it on. I could glue it here, but I don't really want to cover up those stripes, so I think I'm going to glue it here. But I could do it like this. I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm just going to put a little glue on here. It doesn't have to be a ton. Oops. And glue that on like that. Kind of fit it in there so it fits in the page. Make sure it seems square on this end too, and then just push that down. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the same thing with the other one. Okay, so it's going to go in here like this, and then they're going to overlap. Okay, and I do want them to kind of match up here, so that's good. We'll do it just right there. That's going to work out perfectly. Put our glue on here. And you could make this into a pocket too, like I did on the other one if you wanted to. You know, I could use these as a little pocket or a little tuck spot. I'm just not going to here. All right, so now when we open this page, we have made it into two shorter pages. Okay, all right, let's jump to the third one. I have two more to show you here. This one, so this is a little trick that I do with pages that are just a little bit too wide for the book. And what I do, let me just grab a scrap here. Let's just say this was our page that was going in the book, and it's too wide. So So what I do is I fold it in half, and then I give it another little fold. This is the folded edge. I give it another little fold this way, okay? So what I'm doing is adding a little, like a little pleat in the center, okay? And then we go in where these, so now we have this sort of shape like a W. Let's see if I can make it go. I'm trying to work quickly here, so. All right, so we have this W shape, and usually it would be even. Let's even that up. I'm going away this weekend. This is Friday morning, and I have to get to work. I'm trying to rush a little bit here. But I planned to have these videos come out on Monday evenings, and so I thought that would be good because I can work on them on the weekend. But I'm going to be gone this weekend, so I'm trying to work ahead a little bit. All right, so I'm in the two middle legs of the W, and I'm just gluing those together. All right, so now I just have a folded page again, but we have this extra little bit in the middle, okay? And this is like a, I call it a stub. I don't know what, there's probably a name for it, but that's what I call it. So when I stitch it into the book, I can fold it this way and stitch here, or it can be stitched here, but it gives you the opportunity to add an extra page into the book. So that's what you're seeing right here, okay? So this is the second signature, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add another one of these tree pages in, because I said I wanted one in each signature, so I'm gonna go ahead and just use that again. All right, so easy peasy here. There's nothing to this. You just glue your extra paper on there, whatever it is you want to use, and then you have another page in the book. We've added an extra page. And it's okay, like this one, the page is a little bit taller than the stub. It doesn't matter at all. It can stick up a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Very nice. And I took these pages out of the book and I coffee dyed them, just in case you're wondering, so they are a little bit more grungy looking. All right, and then that's what it looks like on the other side, okay? All right, now we're gonna we have one more, and it's the last one in second signature here, and I'm gonna make this one into another side tuck, all right? But I thought I would make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm gonna have a little panel in the center of it that is acetate, so that there's like a little bit of a window and you can see what's in. It'll just look kind of cool when you can see part of your tag through that. So we only need a piece of this to be exactly the same length as my little short page here. So I'm going to cut that down a little bit. And it doesn't have to be very wide either. So if you don't have acetate, that's okay. You could use a piece of packaging. You could use vellum here, or anything that has a little bit of transparency to it, a really thin piece of paper, even maybe tissue paper if you do it right, as long as it's not too fragile. And I think that's good. All right, now I'm just going to only make this not real wide, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that down again widthwise. Okay, so that's going to be there, and then I'm going to have another strip of paper up here, and I'm just going to use this brown packing paper because I like it and it's abundant. I take this when I get something from Amazon and I tear it, because it comes in really long pieces, but it's perforated. So I tear them apart and I coffee dye them so they have a little bit more of an interesting look to them. You don't have to, you can just use them the way they are. I'm just adding a little bit of reinforcement on this because it's not real thick. So I'm folding the edge down, okay. And then I'm going to cut this to the width I want, which doesn't have to be very wide. Okay. Just move the rest of this out of the way so it's not cluttering up the work area here. All right. Okay, so we just need to cut this to the right. It'd be nice if I'd cut it more straight. Let's just straighten that up a little bit. All right. So that's going to get glued onto here, and then that's going to get glued onto here, just like that, okay? All right, so my trick is that I glue it, and I also use plain old Scotch tape. plain old Scotch tape. All right. So we're going to glue this on here. I'm just gluing it on now, and then I can cut it to the right length using this acetate as my pattern. So I am putting some glue under there, right along the edge of the brown paper to make sure that sticks down to the acetate good. Try not to get any glue on your acetate. If you do, wipe it off, because you don't want it. The whole purpose is for it to be nice and clear. All right, and then that's going to go there like that. Cut this off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and glue this down onto it as well, right along this edge. So I'm not worrying about the sides right now. I'm just creating the actual panel. Excuse me. And I'm going to lay that down on here. Make sure it looks like it's pretty straight and even. Looks good. All right, now, if this was a side tuck and we just left it like this, and let's just wipe off the glue again. What might happen is when you stick something in there, it gets hung up on the edge of this acetate because it's a little bit stiffer than the papers and it wants to stick out. So I just have Scotch tape here. You could use washi tape too, but I mean, Scotch tape, everybody has that. And I'm going to tape it right over the edge of that acetate so that it's kind of covered up. Let's get this other piece out of here. And then that makes a nice smooth transition for you to slide through. I'm going to take another nice piece of Scotch tape here, do the same thing on this one. There, so now this is pretty smooth if you were to slide something in and out. All right, now let's be smart about this like I didn't on the other one, and I'm going to go ahead and do my thumb notch real quick before I glue it down. Kind of go in the middle. I don't care if it's perfect. And I was lucky there because that glue isn't quite set up yet, and sometimes you'll just get a big nasty tear out there. Okay. All right, and then we're just going to glue this down to the page, okay? So, you do not need to put any glue on the acetate. Just skip that part. Just glue the part where the paper is. It's the same thing I was telling you on the other one. If you put something in here, like if we put a journal card in here, it's not going to fall out this little crack here where there's no glue. And I just don't like the look of seeing the glued down part on the acetate. So I'm just going to leave that without glue. All right. So now we have this really cool little side tuck. Let me just grab any random paper to stick in there. It's not dry all the way yet, but so when you stick that in, you're going to kind of see it through that window, which I think is really cool. All right, so that brings me to the end of this first video. Thanks for joining me. I'm planning on Monday night, so watch next week for the next in the series, and have a wonderful week. Love you guys. Bye.